Well, time to work on this holding tank, I guess. I have not been looking forward to this one. This thing's all brand new, I mean, don't get me wrong, but what I have to do is, I gotta install a bunch of fittings on it, like this guy, for example. And here's another one. I think this is the one you use to pump it out, which is why it has those little nubs down there, so that when you're pumping it out, the fabric doesn't stick to it and, block it. But anyway, I think I'm gonna inflate it, and I have to cut some holes, and then sneak these in there and tighten down the fittings. So I've been not looking forward to cutting it because it'd be easy, well, hopefully not easy to screw it up, but, if I bust out a razor blade and start cutting a circle, and I screw it up, then I'm not going to get a good seal, and that's not good. So I'm thinking I might use a hole saw and just blow this thing up and then cut it with a hole saw. I got a few of them laying around anyway of different sizes. That's what I'm leaning towards right now. Not sure if I'm doing this now or later. I'm pretty much exhausted today. I guess we'll see how it goes. I have to point this out because I thought this is pretty cool. They make these new flexible holding tanks, which, by the way, that's what this is. It's just a big, a big bag that'll, you can just pump it out and it'll flatten out. You can roll it up when you're done with it or whatever. Not that I'm planning on doing that, but anyway, they make these new tanks that are also flexible, and then once they conform to whatever area you've put them in, after you've filled them up, then you turn on this UV light inside of it and it cures it and makes it all rigid. And I thought that was pretty cool. I won't be using that type of tank in the future, but I could see how it'd be nice for some of these boats where it's tough to get down into the bilge. I happen to have pretty good bilge access in this boat, so I don't quite need something like this, but it's cool because you can just cut a little hole and then sneak the whole tank down into it, and then blow up the tank, while it's down where it's going to go, and you don't have to cut out like a big hole in your floor to get the whole tank to get in there. Anyway, I just thought that was kind of cool. So here's what it looks like totally inflated, which I hope I never let it get this full, because that's big. And I think this thing takes 40 or 52.5 gallons, if I remember right. But I wouldn't let it get that full. That's like tight. I've got it so tight so that I'm thinking it'll be easier to drill a hole through it while it's nice and tight. I suppose I'll find out shortly. Here's a hole saw. I think it's like a 1 1/4 or so. This is a 1-inch nipple on there, I guess you'd call it. And it just fits inside of here. I figured I'd use that to gauge how big I needed it to be, because a similar diameter to this will go, between these rings, which, I think this ring will go on top, so that as I tighten this, it'll have that ring to slide against. And some of these other ones have, there's like one rubber ring and then one fabric ring, and they put the rubber ring on top, so I assume that must go outside of the bag. And it seems like a nice, thicker ring for this to rub against as I'm tightening it. Anyhow, I think I might take a few minutes and really make sure this is a good approach to this before I start drilling. Pretty sure it is, but what can I say? Better safe than sorry, I guess. I did a little research online. This tank and the fittings didn't come with any instructions, or I lost the instructions, who knows. But after I took a look at them, one thing they said was to make sure when you cut your hole that it's no larger than the inside diameter of one of these rings. And these rings fit over the top and then tighten down to put the, tighten down into the bag. This is the wrong size bit. I have a bunch more hole saws, so I could swap the hole saw, but the instructions suggested using scissors. That makes sense. They suggested tracing a little hole using the inside of that fitting, and then tracing it out with scissors and cutting it that way. I like that idea. I think I'm going to do that, because I don't know if some fibers are going to come out and get caught in this drill bit, or if it'll damage the surrounding fabric, or who knows what all else. So I got to find some scissors. I'm going to do some kind of arrangement like this. Vent, head number 1, head number 2, and then that's the one to drain it. And then that's just the stock one it came with. There's my pencil outlines. I think I'll bust out the old scissors now. Thinking these guys should do the trick. Go ahead and let the air out of this thing. Figure it's going to start draining air right when I start cutting it anyhow. And this way I can figure I'd kind of like fold the fabric, pinch it together and then do a little cut to get it started. These scissors are not cutting it, literally. That is some tough fabric. I don't blame the scissors. I even sharpened the scissors, and they're still not doing it. And then I tried, just because they were sitting here, I tried these guys, and that's just not the right tool for the job. That's some kind of, I don't know, for trimming branches or something. I've got these, though. Got them at Stoneway. They recommended them one day. I think they're only like $4 or $5. My friend, lady friend Nico, and I were working on an inflatable dinghy, and we needed to cut some of that fabric, which is also really tough to work with. And yeah, those Stoneway guys suggested these, and they work really well. And I'm gonna guess they're gonna work on this tank really well also. And you know, maybe just for Nico, I'm gonna look up that one Nico Case song, I think it's called. Is that the artist's name? Maybe play that one quick. I guess it's kind of dark in here, but you know, let's see if I got a flashlight. I don't see one handy. Oh yeah, I do. I should have definitely used pen when I drew those holes, because you know the pencil's rubbing off on me. I should have realized that was happening. People always take my permanent markers, or else I would have used one of those. This is after a bunch of snipping with those scissors, which it's still difficult to cut with those scissors. I'm pretty much almost using like a... They cut, but I was using a sawing motion with one of the blades. And these guys, because they're like serrated a little bit. But it's not sharp. You know, I like how they rounded off the ends. There's like a guide down here to prevent you from poking through. So that's a really nice feature on those scissors. Anyhow, see how this goes.